Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to my greenhouse. My name is Joe. Welcome back to part 2 of my recent visit to Singapore Botanical Gardens. And in this part 2, because remember in part 1 we had a focus on cacti and other succulent plants growing in that botanical garden. And this video, part 2, is going to focus on also a very special group of plants, Hoyas. And these Hoyas are being grown in a recently opened fantastic venue that Singapore Botanical Gardens now have. It's the dedicated Hoya House. You've got to have seen this. So that's what's coming up in this video. Stay tuned. So welcome back, my name is Joe, and as I said in the intro, we're going to focus in this video on the newly opened Hoya House, an open greenhouse that focuses on a group of plants that many succulent horticulturalists and hobbyists also grow alongside their succulents. It's Hoyas, very, very special plants, beautiful flowers. And we're going to take a look at that collection that has recently been opened in the, as I say, dedicated Hoya greenhouse of Singapore Botanical Gardens. So here we are once again at the beautiful Tanglin Gate of the Botanic Gardens of Singapore, a garden that goes back to 1859, so over 160 years ago. And there's a lot of details I've already shared on this garden in part 1 of the video, where I was focusing on the cacti and other succulent plants of this garden. And as we walk towards today's feature, the brand new Hoya House, we're passing a whole lot of really interesting areas of the garden. And I was saying in part 1, if you ever have a chance to visit here, try and take a full day, because there's so much to do, so much to see. The National Orchid Garden, there's a jungle section here, there's over 10,000 species of plants that are grown, a lot of them unique tropical species. And there's also beautiful landscaping, wonderful lawns, palm collections, ginger collections, you name it. So much to see, so much to do. And why not just lean back and enjoy a very brief summary of what we've seen in part 1 as we're heading for the Hoya House.
So quite amazing, isn't it? All these cacti in a absolutely fully tropical climate. Now, we're going to take a look at another very special feature here at the wonderful Singapore Botanical Gardens, and that is a brand new Hoya garden. And yes, it's a special feature of Hoya plants. So let's take a look at what that new Hoya house has to offer. Let's go. It's up here right next to the cactus and succulent section. Now here's a couple of fun facts for you. The genus Hoya was actually named by the British botanist Robert Brown back in 1811 after a Thomas Hoy, a gardener at the Syon House in England. And the very first species to be commonly cultivated from about the early 19th century onwards was Hoya carnosa, still known today, still very popular today for its attractive, very glossy foliage and its fragrant flowers. Oh, I can see it. Wow, that's amazing. A absolutely dedicated open greenhouse for Hoya plants. The genus Hoya has, depending on the source, somewhere between 350 to 450 different species. They're found right across tropical and subtropical South, East and Southeast Asia, so including the Indian subcontinent in the Himalayan foothills, all the way across, as I said, to East and Southeast Asia, the islands of Borneo, Philippines, Sumatra, and on New Guinea, and across to the Australian continent. Hoyas, also known by their common names porcelain flowers or wax plants, because of the waxy appearance of these typical unique star-shaped flowers. The blooms, the inflorescences are very long lasting, and they can produce flowers over a very long period of time. These blooms come in a variety of beautiful shapes and forms. They can be flat, rounded, they're usually hanging, so pendulous, but can sometimes also be held upright. It's not just the beauty of their blooms, their unique blooms, that is so captivating. It's also the absolutely wonderful foliage that these plants can have. Hoyas come in many different shapes and sizes, and they also have patterned leaves, colored leaves. It's just a whole variety of wonderful plants. The vast majority of Hoya species are epiphytic. They grow on other plants. They can be hemiepiphytic, creeping, pendulous, shrubby, but the vast majority, they climb and grow on other plants. Hoyas are members of the family of Apocynaceae, a large tropical plant family with far over 5,000 species, believe it or not, and these include the well-known frangipani. One of the beautiful things here at the Hoya House in the Singapore Botanic Gardens is that plants are actually sorted by a number of key growing hotspots. So original areas where a lot of Hoyas come from, and that includes the islands of Borneo, that includes the Himalayas, that includes Southeast Asian countries like Malaysia, Singapore, that includes the Philippines, and so on and so on. And these different countries, these different hotspots are featured with typical plants, and some of them in beautiful bloom while I was visiting. And that's something which I read is beautiful here. You can come at pretty much any time of the year, and there will always be some plants in bloom to showcase these beautiful flowers for you. Hoyas love a relatively warm climate. They love temperatures between 16 and 25 degrees centigrade. So what's that? About 60 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And they love high humidity, and they love being grown in very small pots. You know, they don't like being over potted because that will often lead to root rot. Now, although they like humid conditions, humid air, they don't like standing permanently in wet substrate. So a little bit like cacti, they're actually pretty drought resistant, or they can be pretty drought resistant. In fact, they quite like periods where they're maybe just sprayed a little bit but not necessarily watered a lot. And then you get periods again where you can water them quite frequently, once, maybe twice a week, and then allow those plants, allow the roots to dry off again, but spray the plants a lot more frequently than you would spray cacti, for instance, because they do like that humidity, the high humidity in the air. And as they're growing on other plants, a bit like orchids, they will also not need a lot of fertilizing. So a lot of people growing Hoya actually also fertilize them with orchid fertilizers, and they grow them in a relatively similar way to orchids. Even the substrate can be a mix of orchid bark, perlite, so something that is actually quite well draining for water. Something I love about this Hoya house is how educational it is actually set up to be. You've got a lot of information being shown with interesting facts about Hoya plants, and that just really underlines, one of the key purposes that Singapore Botanic Gardens has set itself, which is to not only showcase and grow plants, but also to educate people coming here about these plants, and to, help bring across interesting facts, and for people to appreciate just how wonderful Mother Nature is in generating this huge diversity of beautiful plants. So here's a section featuring Hoya plants from the Philippines, a whole group of islands, of course, where over 200 species are thought to actually be growing. And there's a wonderful selection of Hoya plants from the Philippines featured here. This section features Hoya plants from New Guinea, and that's an area that is way less explored than, for instance, Borneo or the Philippines. And at the moment, there are thought to be about 60 to 70 species of Hoya on New Guinea. Around 60 species of Hoya are recorded from Thailand, another hotspot of beautiful Hoya plants. Borneo, a real hot spot for Hoya. Over 80 species and quite a lot of subspecies and variations recorded from well-studied areas of Borneo. And interestingly, they occur in a lot of different habitats. The only area highlighted here as being Hoya free are the very tallest mountain peaks on Borneo. Amazingly, the highest altitude recorded for a Hoya species is from about 2,200 meters elevation. Also, Singapore and neighboring Malaysia has a whole range of different Hoya. And interestingly, even here in Singapore, there are 13 native species recorded. Now, you might be asking, where in Singapore would you actually find Hoya growing? Well, the hotspot within Singapore is the Bukit Timah Nature Reserve, a wonderful area of primary jungle still preserved, and it's got the whole range of jungle flora and fauna, very typical for the few remaining jungles of Southeast Asia. Now at this point, I'd like to diverge a little bit because there is a connection between the Hoya plants, that some of which we're seeing here that grow in Singapore and neighboring Malaysia, and the jungle area of Singapore preserved at the Bukit Timah Nature Reserve. Now let me explain the two connections that I made between the Hoya House, the Singapore Hoyas, and two other locations that I visited during my stay in Singapore. One of those really interesting places I visited is actually the Center for Ethnobotany, located right here in the Botanic Gardens. It's a beautiful center put together focusing on ethnobotany, which itself focuses on botany or plants, for instance, of medicinal significance. It features on the interactions of people, of indigenous peoples, and the natural surroundings, the plants in their environment, how they've been utilizing these plants, and how the plants have been grown for different purposes. The center also focuses on key plants that have actually shaped this region, Southeast Asia and beyond. Plants like the rubber trees, plants like coca, plants like rice, and so on. Numerous plants that have actually shaped the people and the economies of this region. Now, interestingly, and luckily for me, because this is one of the areas that I've always been super interested in within botany. Now, when I visited, there was also a special dedicated exhibition on the diversity of Dipterocarps. Now, some of you will know that Dipterocarps are actually a fascinating group of trees that are among the largest trees found in the jungles of Southeast Asia. And I've always found these plants, these trees, super fascinating. So what a wonderful coincidence to be walking into this exhibition just at the time that I was visiting the gardens. There's over 20 genera and over 500 species of Dipterocarp trees. These are the jungle giants, huge trees rising way above the main forest canopy, and they can be up to 90, some of them even over 90 meters tall. That's almost 300 feet. Now, these Dipterocarps just like the Hoya we saw earlier, can also still be found at the Bukit Timah Nature Reserve right here in Singapore, not far away, about 10-15 kilometers from the main city. And it's here at the Bukit Timah Nature Reserve that I spent a whole day hiking, trekking on the wonderful trails that can be found and that take you through this wonderful tropical jungle. It's up here towards the top of Bukit Timah Nature Reserve that the really big ones, the old and large Dipterocarps, Merantes, they grow up here. You don't get them further down in the lowland part of the nature reserve and jungle. They're standing up here and they want you to climb a murderous climb of many steps first before you get up here, and but then you're actually handsomely rewarded. You get the jungle music and you get these fabulous trees.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that visit as much as I did. I was blown away by, just the idea of having a dedicated Hoya house. Fantastic. And these plants, of course, incredible. If you've got the climate to grow them, if you've got the space to grow them, they are, I would say, at least as worthwhile to grow as many orchids. I'll probably get a bit of a shitstorm on that comment, but who cares? My opinion. Hoyas are fantastic plants to grow, and I hope you enjoyed this video that gave us a little insight, a little look at this recently opened Hoya House at Singapore Botanical Gardens. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, I'd be really happy about a like. So just click that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you'd like to leave a comment or a question, fantastic, please do so in the comment section below. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this visit, and I hope to see you very soon again. Until then, take care, and as always, happy growing.